Buying a home? Don't panic. Just listen to the rest of this podcast. All right, today's guest is an ex-tennis pro who was a struggling actor and wound up getting the role of his life playing a lawyer in real life. Greg Pyfrom.
Good morning.
Do you remember all that?
I did.
That was from our first meeting, man. How you doing?
Trying to keep out of trouble.
Yeah, same here. We're all trying to keep out of trouble. But you're here today on a Sunday because you have something interesting to talk about.
I do.
And that is regarding inspectors not getting contracts signed before they do the inspection, getting dragged around by the clients. I call it bullying, bullying the inspector, where the customer or the realtor just try to avoid, dotting your I's and crossing your T's when it comes to your home inspection contracts.
Doing their job.
Yes, it's part of the job right there. So let's go. Tell me about that case you mentioned to me on the phone.
Well, I can tell you that there's a huge case going on in San Diego with a major law firm, which is, in our opinion, completely fraudulent. This is a $2 million home bought on a 15-day escrow. And during the escrow, the home inspector found water dripping from an area of the downstairs bathroom, which was almost never used since the kids obviously were out of the house and the family was older. So the bottom line of it is that he not only took photographs of what it was, he took a moisture meter out to make sure that he got an accurate reading, because this is a $2 million home and they knew it was going to be serious.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, they then called out for a mold inspector to come. And in fact, a mold inspector came.
Really?
Yes. With a 15-day escrow, with all the other problems taking place, they decided to go forward with it anyway. And what the sellers did was, I'm going to turn this over to my insurance company and they will deal with you, but we'll close the escrow, get the money. Obviously, the agents were very happy to get their money that quickly.
I bet they were.
And the bottom line of it all is everything was great until they found out that the intention of the buyer was to completely remodel the downstairs and gutted it all without getting any notice to the home inspector or anyone else. And then I was called in.
Really? So, okay, let me see if I got this straight. So, home buyer hires a specific home inspector. He goes down there, does his job. Did he do his job right? Did he do his paperwork's in order? Everything's good?
Look, everything was great. It was 148 pages, and he even took photographs of the moisture meter by the downstairs bed.
Showing there was moisture.
Absolutely, and the mold, and called out for the mold inspection to take place too.
Really? So but his paperwork was in order?
Absolutely. First class, great job. It certainly made my life a lot simpler.
All right, so his paperwork was in order. Okay, so then what you're getting at is you think he was set up from the beginning. Everybody was set up from the beginning to try to get some kind of a claim and try to collect some money from the buyer. Well, the buyer was trying to do that from everybody else. And now you're saying that after he pointed out the moisture, he recommended a mold company come in, and they did come in. And so there's another report there, right? So now you get two reports, right?
Correct.
Okay, two reports. You saw both reports?
Saw both reports.
Okay, and so now you're saying that the buyer did not disclose they planned on gutting everything anyway?
Yes, as a matter of fact, even the realtors modified their disclosure documents to include it. So
really?
There was full notification, and of course, he wanted it still within 15 days. He originally wanted it in 10, and not many young men have $2 million just sitting around just to take out of a bank account. So there's a lot of things going on simultaneously. Now, what really came down is that the insurance company came in and said, let's take a look at this. And they brought in a restoration company to come in. And then at the end of it, they submitted a bill for over $440,000, which they asked.
Who submitted the bill?
The buyer of the house.
Wow.
The insurance company refused to pay it. So they went back and they sued the sellers.
Wow.
Yes, there's a lot of loose strings around here.
And this is an ongoing case, right?
This is an ongoing case.
So you have to be careful what you say.
Very careful.
Yeah. All right. So if I push too hard, push back. Say, John, I can't answer that.
Well, I'll just simply say it's attorney-client privilege.
Oh, there you go. All right. So that's interesting. But, I'm not surprised to hear this. Were you surprised when you got the case?
No.
Of course not, because people are people, right?
We had the Rihanna case.
Tell me about it.
Well, the Rihanna case was the glass house in Beverly Hills that she purchased through her agents. And
You talk about the Rihanna?
Yes, I am.
Oh, okay.
And I must admit, we never got to meet her.
Mm-hmm.
It was unfortunate because I wanted to.
Right.
But there was a case going in New York and also in Los Angeles. And basically, the house was mostly glass. They had a glass bridge going from her boudoir to across the house for the purposes of where her clothes were. And to make the long story short, this was a house that was built from a bungalow, California bungalow, with the most amazing views that you can imagine.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen a lot of great homes. Never seen a view like this, where you look from the balcony, which was also glass.
That's a lot of Windex, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's a little more than that. But you look down on downtown Los Angeles as if you're reaching out to get a pencil on a table. And if you go to the opposite side of the house, you look over the hill and you see Brentwood, Santa Monica, Pacific Palisades, the Pacific Ocean.
Right.
And if you look to the south, there's Beverly Hills right down below you.
Wow.
It was an amazing house. And oddly enough, it took 2 years to finally resolve it.
Yeah, what was wrong with it?
There was a El Nino rain, and the balcony was over the sliding glass doors higher, so that when the rain hit on the south and east side, it flooded the upstairs and basically flooded the whole house.
Yeah, I've seen something like that before.
Yeah.
Not in a glass house, in just a regular construction house, conventional framing, but yeah, I've only done, I think, maybe 2 or 3 glass houses in the past
pretty
10
much
years.
all glass. It really was.
Yeah, I'm sure it looks nice, but it's not functional, is it?
Not when you have glass stairs going up and, shall we say, people walking across the bridge, especially when you're having a party down below and it's all glass.
Okay, I'm not going to go there on that one.
I wouldn't go any further on that on a Sunday, that's for sure.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. Hey, who's up there?
Yes.
So anyway, so that was just basically a moisture intrusion problem.
Yes, it was.
And it was a very expensive one?
Yes, it was. But more than that is, in 2 years, we never found an architect, a builder, or a permit.
Shut up.
In 2 years, they tore that bungalow down and built this house. Building and safety never came up there for anything. How this took place, I still don't know.
Come on, I can answer that one for you.
Please.
Somebody got paid off.
Well,
Got that kind of money?
Know.
Got that kind of money, you're probably paying somebody off. Who knows? That's a lot of money involved in that. So the people know people, those people know people, and that person knows the guy at the building department.
As a matter of fact, this house was supposed to be for the what was the show on TV, Bachelors and come on, the one that's on TV that you see.
I
every
don't watch
single
that
year.
crap.
Well, anyway, it's basically that was supposed to be the film set for this particular series where you have the Bachelorette and the Bachelor, and this was the house that was supposed to be for it because they had all the scenery.
Got it. So now, I believe that was an interesting story. What was the dollar amount on that one? Can you disclose that?
Well, I can tell you that we paid a nominal amount. What really occurred was the case in New York in which she also sued her agent, and that was in federal district court. But eventually we walked for peanuts, popcorns, and diplomas. I mean, it really wasn't much of anything.
Really?
Yeah, she didn't get much at all on that side of it. And she sold it as a mold house.
As a fixer-upper?
Yes. And somebody came in and spent a lot of money to redo it and then sold it for a ton of money.
And what year was this?
Well, it was the El Nino year. So was it 2004, 2005? It was quite a while ago.
Oh, okay. Okay, got it. Yeah, no, I'm not familiar with that case. Thanks for telling me. I'm not aware of it. Well, maybe I heard about it, but I don't remember.
She's not hurting for money, so I don't really think that's a problem.
Yeah, I'm sure she'd get that fixed. So you had another case that you wanted to mention, and that was about somebody who forgot to have their paperwork signed.
That's becoming an epidemic. So let's be candid about it. I have very strong feelings that the insurance company's position is not well taken. And I do believe that if this goes to the federal district court, on state appellate court, I think the state appellate court is going to slap the hand of the insurance company. And here's the reason why. Think of this logically. You have a policy of insurance, and in fact, an agent signs for you. Well, that's perfectly permissible. That's the Rihanna's house because she was not there at the time the house closed escrow. Her agent signed for her. Mm-hmm. So why isn't that a home inspector can't have an extra, for an example, contract with them when they don't have it in hand before they go? And in fact, when the buyer doesn't come, it doesn't make any difference because you have agency and the agent can sign it. So that's one way.
Right.
The other thing is, what is the real issue in the policy? The real issue is, how has the insurance company been harmed? If, in fact, the report is written after receiving a signed contract, and let's just assume the contract is the next day, what difference does it make if no report is written? So, therefore, no damages can arise. So, think this out logically.
No, those are good points right there.
We have two cases going now in which an individual showed up. They didn't have an extra contract. She's a professional woman. And to make the long story short, she said, I apologize. I will be at your office at 9 a.m. And the inspector said, you realize I'm not going to start this report until I have a signed contract. And she said, that's fine.
Start the report or the inspection?
Start the report. They did the inspection because what came about was,
interesting.
The inspector that was on it, unfortunately, got sick, and they called at the last minute to get somebody out. Right. There's no question that he sent the contract. There's no question of that, and there's no question that she meant to sign it, and she meant to bring it with her when she came, just to make it easy and to hand it off.
Was this back in the 1980s?
No, this is a couple 3 years ago. And 2 years later, with still insurance policy at stake and no problems whatsoever in paying the premiums, they denied coverage, saying, it says you must have a signed contract before. The question is, in insurance situations, where is the damage to the client that it was done at the time he started writing the report? The next day, the next morning, she showed up at 9 a.m. the next morning.
This is why you're a lawyer, because those are good arguments right there.
So I think that they're in trouble, and I think that they are pushing this. And of course, the insurance companies, in all fairness, are trying to limit the amount of problems that occurred and fraud that does occur in this industry with a late signed contract, especially when you have a 2-year gap in between.
Right.
So there are points on both sides, but the merits go to the insured because the insurer owes a fiduciary duty. Mm-hmm. So that's how I think that's going to come down. But who knows? We haven't seen a test case yet.
Interesting stuff. So,
well, let me stop you for a second. I wanted to tell you.
I'm just starting.
I'm just, I've got these cups, and you know that my staff doesn't like the cups I have. So I just want you to know that I'm going to do a pitch for you right now and say, where do I get these cups? Because I'm going to be saying that the minute we get off the air.
All right. So you like my coffee mug?
I like the coffee
Well, that's good. I just recently purchased these. I initially did it just for my podcast guests, so they have a takeaway after, taking the time coming out here and listening to me yap at them. So they're 15-ounce coffee mugs. You can get them in, I believe it's a 12-ounce too. And it's all on my Shopify store. So T-shirts too. Buying a home, don't panic.
Right. Don't panic.
So anyway, that's for you to take home. I'll clean it off when you're done and box it up for you and you can take it with you.
No, you're not going to box it up because I'm going to take it because I'm going to go to Starbucks.
You're going to put some coffee in it. There you go. All right. Sounds good. So basically, when you called, when we spoke yesterday, a couple days ago about doing this little show right now, you mentioned a few things and it got me thinking. All right. So nowadays, I don't understand why anybody would even attempt to start an inspection without paperwork in order. Come on. My listeners have heard me say this at least 50 times so far. I say this all the time. You can't let these customers dictate how you run your business. You just can't do that. That's not acceptable. Just like in your report, you're going to have a not acceptable tab where you check off or needs attention or appears serviceable, appears functional, right? So this goes under the not acceptable category in your brain. When someone says, "Oh yeah, we'll just do it there. We'll just do it when we get." No, ma'am, you won't. I'm not even leaving the house until I have that in place. But I'm going to make it real easy for you. I'm going to send you a link. The link I'm going to send you is going to have all this information right at your fingertips on your smartphone. Just make believe you're buying a pair of shoes. It's that easy, but that's the best way to describe it. Okay, so I can't make it any more simpler except for driving to their house, opening my phone, or better yet, opening their phone and saying, "Here, just check that little box after you've read this and then fill out your credit card information." That's all I can do to make it easier. It's so easy. So I don't have much sympathy for someone who is saying in these recent years that they are going to a job, starting the job, hoping the client's going to show up and sign off. So that brings up a multiple of questions for you. So
let me jump in 1 second.
All right.
Agency law in the state of California says that an agent for a buyer has the ostensible authority, that's ostensible now, remember that word, ostensible authority to sign for them. So if the agent is going to be there, always have a secondary blank copy with you all the time. You can't go wrong. And the minute you give one out, you put another one in your bag. You always have them there.
But see, there you go, going backwards in time. You keep talking about paper. Paper's a thing of the past. That's where I'm stopping you right now, because you got to stop doing that. No more paper. There's no more bringing an extra copy. This is all digital. Everything is digital. If you are a home inspector and you're still doing paper contracts, you need to wake up. This is crazy. There's so much technology out there nowadays to make this so easy. It'll blow your mind if you haven't touched on it yet. Try Spectora software. There's other ones out there, but that's the one I use. It's the best. It comes with all kinds of bells and whistles. Let you know when people sign your contracts. Let you know when people pay you. Everything.
Wait a minute. You hit the magic word. It's payment. That's the motivating tool. And you're right.
Right. So here's a little question for you. So let's say, hang on, let me go back in time for a minute. I'm going to go back to the 80s for a second.
Just hold 1 second. I just want to interrupt you by saying, we only accept new cases in which there is a signed contract before I see it. So I do the same thing you do, but I'm just thinking about the brand new inspector who just comes out, who doesn't have all this worldly knowledge, and no matter what, just have it with you anyway.
If you're a new inspector and you don't know what to do, just keep listening to this podcast, because I talk about this stuff for new inspectors all the time. I'm always trying to help people avoid issues. I tripped a couple of times when I started. I get no qualms about saying that. It happens. It's called a learning curve. You're going to learn a new business. You're going to trip over some stuff. Oh, well, I learned, okay, I'm not going to do that again. So let me go back to the 80s for a second. So when I was growing up, let's say I sold you a used car, and then we didn't finish the paperwork, but you took the car. So there was an old saying, I can't remember the exact way the sentence was laid out. I've been racking my brain since yesterday trying to think of this. Possession is
9/10 the law.
9/10 the law. That's it. That's what I was looking for. So possession is 9/10 the law. So I was thinking about that in regards to somebody starting a home inspection, a home inspector starting his job, going to the property, walking on the property, and getting started without paperwork in place. However, the client already paid him. Does that have any weight either way?
That's certainly an argument. There's an implied in fact contract, of course.
Right.
But the insurance...
So you paid for something you didn't sign. So they paid for something they didn't sign.
No, that's not quite it.
Okay.
They did sign something. They didn't sign the contract. It's an implied in fact contract. The question is, will the insurance company, in their charitable way, ever agree to that? And of course not. So the key to this again is be safe. Just think it out. Now, another point you can say is that you sometimes go to areas in which you can't get the internet. There are places in Pasadena, there's no way you're going to get the internet by way of your phone. You're just not going to get it. Or in a canyon.
That's true.
So therefore, make sure you have it done before you leave. And also make sure that everything that you have on your computer is backed up.
Yeah. Cloud. You got to have a cloud. You want a cloud-based software. That way that you can always access it and upload it pretty much from anywhere, unless you're having a bad service day. But so back to the payment thing.
Sure.
So you got paid, but they didn't sign. So how can they argue a case against you if they agreed to pay you for something they didn't sign? That to me doesn't make any sense. Because one should mean the other in my head.
It's not mutually exclusive.
Okay.
So in other words, they paid you for an inspection. Mm-hmm. Now it's the interpretation of whose inspection, whose rules, what are the conditions. For an example, you use my contract and you know that you have a 1-year statute of limitations, and I put that additional provision in saying this is less than by statute in California. Right. Why do you do that? Because you give them full communication and you have a 1-year statute, not a 4-year statute under Business and Profession Code 7199. The answer is, why should you give a longer contract when you don't need it? Because my case and my contract is absolutely enforceable.
Interesting. So, wow. All right. So that doesn't work with the car scenario. It's not the same.
It's not the same thing at all. But the other thing is you have a secondary, you have DMV. And DMV has certain regulations too.
Yeah.
So again, one is much simpler than the other. But you should have everything digital. You should have a program. But what if the times are really slow? And like the same period that we just went through not too long ago, where getting a home inspection is really tough. Mm-hmm. Well, when somebody calls you up and said the home inspector that was supposed to come is unfortunately sick and just can't make it, or has just been in a car accident, can you pitch hit for me? Obviously, you want to make a good showing, you want to be there, and you want to get on the good list for this big client.
And you can do that from the comfort of your own desk.
You can. Mm-hmm. The question is doing it.
Well, I think it's just a bad decision. I think overall, describing the condition you just described, last minute, the other guy fell through. I get those all the time. I get calls like that. Hey, can you come do an inspection right now? I'm like, no, I'm already on an inspection. Why? What happened? Inspector got sick or he just couldn't make it. I can't help you. I can do it tomorrow. I can't do it right now. So, with that scenario you just pitched, I just think anybody making that decision without taking the proper steps to cover themselves, that was a dumb move. That's it. It doesn't matter who's calling you. And look, this is a home inspection. This ain't surgery. This is not somebody going under heart surgery or something like that. This is just simply someone to go and look at a fucking house. So it's not like it's a total emergency. It's not. Okay, let's be realistic here. It's not an emergency. They can wait a day. So if I showed, for example, somebody was supposed to be there 9 a.m. this morning to do an inspection. He calls in sick. He can't make it. Oh shit, now everyone's scrambling. I get it. So now they get somebody to come in at 2 or 3 in the afternoon today, the same day. What do you think they're going to get done with that report? Absolutely nothing. Even if they got the report the same day, they'll go through the inspection. They'll be told, hey, look, you need to call the HVAC specialist because there's problems there. Or you need to call the roofer because your roof looks like it's leaking. So yeah, you can run with that information and line up a roofer and an HVAC guy, but you can't do much with that report because first of all, you're not going to have the report the same day. You're going to have it the next day. So once again, this is not that big of an emergency. So anybody forgetting about all their policies for their company just to get a paycheck is ridiculous. I think that's ridiculous.
It has limitations.
What does?
The program, the policy that you just set forth. Mm-hmm. In other words, saying it differently, let's assume that you and your wife are going out to buy a house and you've got trip plans. You're getting on a 6 a.m. flight the next morning to go to Brazil. Well, bottom line of it is that you want to have enough time to get it all done. You can send it digitally, even across the oceans. Mm-hmm. So again, reading it, isn't it? It's getting everything done at the last minute. The point of it is a lawyer no more accepts an assignment to represent a client without a signed contract. The same thing applies to home inspectors. It really does. So have it. Get it done right. Do it the first time.
Right.
Don't have all of these ancillary problems that arise later. Don't do it. Just have a policy, get it set up, have it automatic, and just get it done.
Yeah.
So get paid.
Yeah.
Get paid.
Well, a lot of times I've had this happen quite often. I'll send out my contracts are in the same email as my payment link. There's contract. If I'm doing multiple services, then there's a payment link right there. It's all right there on the same block. A lot of times people will just go right to the payment because they think that's all I want. And I'm like, and then I realize because my software lets me know when I get paid. I'm like, okay, well, they didn't sign anything. So I just go double check, make sure they didn't sign it. Then I send them, hey, thank you for the payment. I really appreciate that. However, you forgot to sign the inspection contracts and agreements. You need to read those first and sign them. So that does happen, but it's just sending out another email or text. Hey, you need to take care of this because nothing's confirmed. So they think because they paid me, everything's done. No, that's not it. So if that happens, you have to jump on that quick and make sure they know that, hey, you got to sign all these.
We all have to have due diligence.
Yeah, I'll have to.
And you have to dot the I's and cross the T's. I mean, that's clear. Let's talk about that just for a moment in the area of the contract, since you brought it up. Any home inspector who allows himself to be placed in one of the alphabet soup mediation companies that are all over everywhere that are very expensive, or to be forced into a superior court case is making a major mistake. And I suggest across the board not to use a California company. There are national companies that have arbitration programs like construction dispute resolution, in which they have a program set up with attorneys who have got 20, 30 years of experience, and they arbitrate the case and they comply with the terms and conditions of the contract. Right. In California, they have a rule that basically says if a arbitrator decides that it just doesn't seem fair to abide by a contract that both parties want, it's up to the option of that mediator, binding arbitrator, to render a different decision. I say, if you have a contract, make sure it's honored. Both sides honor it. But I would go to a program that is a national arbitration service like construction defect resolution. And I have never heard a complaint. Now, I've been doing this 47 years. I've never heard a complaint. They can't say, if they swear that they are not going to sue you after 1 year, they've found it, they know about it, it's 1 year, and they decide to wait another year to see what happens, where there's going to be more damage.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing they can do about it. The contract says 1 year. It's 1 year. It's not 1 year and 6 months or 8 months or whatever.
So here's a true story. Just happened to me a couple of days ago regarding contracts, paperwork, and dotting I's and crossing T's. I show up to the property and I'm looking for the address, and I see a similar address. I don't see the exact address that I have in my software. The funny thing is, I had the wrong address, but my GPS took me to the right place. That's what was really confusing me. I'm like, how'd that happen? So, all right, let me dismiss that for a minute. When I pulled up, my clients were standing on the curb waiting. That was on time. They were a little bit earlier. And so I'm like, hey guys, I'm looking for this address. You're here for that? Yeah. I'm like, there's one number off. It's 202 I'm looking for. That says 201. And I don't see a 202. No, it's actually 201. I'm like, well, that's fine. So I'm thinking, so now my inner lawyer goes off. Ding, 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 ding. Okay, well, I'm about to walk into a house with the wrong address. My contract has the wrong address. Everything has the wrong address. So I'm like, okay, I can fix that. Right from my phone. I said, hang on, I gotta resend you your inspection contracts while I'm still on the curb. Haven't stepped on the property yet. And I redid everything, resent it. Guy opened his phone, ding, 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 done. Everything was done. So everything got changed. So my software actually updated the correct address, resubmitted 2 new inspection contracts. I did the home inspection and the sewer within a minute. I had it all done and ready to go. But that was me protecting myself, because I as somebody, I've been down some legal roads in the past, and it's embedded in me now. Like I actually play it out in my head. Well, how would this happen? Let's say I overlook this. Let's say I just ignore it and I use the address I had in the contract. I'm thinking, but what if there was a problem and then this came up and the first thing my lawyer says is, hey man, you got the wrong address on this house. That's a problem. I didn't know if it was going to be a problem or not. So I fixed it and I straightened it out. So what would happen if I didn't?
You had the same client. The same client was present at the same house they wanted to buy with an agent that said, this is the right house. It's simply a typographical error of which has no merit.
So I panicked for no reason.
I would say that panic is an understatement. I would suggest 2 gin and tonics, shaken, not stirred. Okay.
So I panicked myself. I wasn't panicked. I was just like, okay, I need to straighten this out. And because of the software I use, I was able to. That's my point. So everybody listening who's a home inspector and you're still living in the Stone Age back in the 80s, it's time to open the curtains and look outside, because there's a lot of new stuff out here. And you'll love it once you get it, and it's not expensive.
Okay. Again, the most relevant point is you are paid immediately. And it's not done in a check that bounces. Remember, You're in business to make money, not to be in court.
Exactly. And that brings up another scenario, which was, I believe, the day before that one, the one I just mentioned. I had a kind of an eventful week. So I had a repeat realtor refer me to a customer, which is great. And I send off all the paperwork after days of negotiating with them and them finally committing to saying yes. I guess they were trying to get the escrow open or something. And then the realtor's like, oh, John, they're just going to give you a check on the day of. I said, no, they're not giving me a check. So what do you mean? I said, I don't take checks. And if they read what I sent them, the first sentence says, we do not accept checks of any kind from anybody, business or personal. So I said, the link's in there, take care of it. So once again, you just got to kind of put your foot down and stop these things from spiraling out of control. Because once you say yes, okay to one, that realtor is going to remember that. And she's going to use that to push you around on the next one. That can happen. And I've seen other inspectors tell stories about stuff like that. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? I mean, is she running your business or are you running your business? You gotta stick to your guns, man.
Let me give you another one. On this big house that I told you about in San Diego, the same company was involved in another one in La Jolla. And as a courtesy, because obviously this was a great client and she just has big houses, $7-8 million
right.
is not uncommon for her. They saw that one of the areas to be inspected, and I will not mention what it is, was unplugged. When you see a plug that is not in the socket, you do not put it in. You don't volunteer to be helpful. You call it out. Well, what occurred was they put it in and there was a short and there was a small fire. Yes. And if you think the S hit the S or the S hit the fan, that's what happened. So again, point out, look first, point out what you see, and do not extend yourself past exactly what you do. You're a home inspector. You're not a builder. You're not their brother-in-law or father-in-law.
And you're not there to fix things.
Right. Which brings me to my next really one going. If you're a home inspector and you have a bad day, I mean, the one I'm referring to had a terrible day, a very good home inspector. Do not multiply the problem by trying to find a way to talk your way out of it. And I'll give you an example.
Okay.
Let's assume that for those of you who've been around a lot, there are various types of chimneys. For an example, a rampart chimney is a one-piece chimney that you tilt up, and it's about 17 feet off, and you can imagine the weight. And this was built really in the 60s and 70s and 80s. But by the 80s, I mean 1980, not 1780, by that period of time, clearly these were recalled.
Let me add to that before you go any further, because just to be more clear, so everyone understands what chimney you're talking about. This is a precast chimney that's built in a factory. It's then delivered on a truck, and what they didn't think of was, well, it looks great on the truck, but when we take it off the truck, it gets kind of dropped on the ground a bit, and it cracks everywhere. And then they stand them up, and then they built the house around it, and now you have a brand new fireplace with cracks in it. And that's why there's a problem.
Going step one further with this is that when you see one of those chimneys and all of a sudden you look at it and say, my gosh, that looks gorgeous. I mean, they caulked it and they painted it. For gosh sakes, call it out. And the bottom line is this home inspector, who's really good, totally missed it. And carbon monoxide, there was also gas in it and various other things. But the bottom line of it is...
He missed what? He missed the chimney completely, or he missed the cracks?
Did not mention the chimney at all.
Okay. Does he inspect chimneys?
Yes, as part of the home inspection, he would look at the chimney to make sure that obviously it has all the right equipment and so forth and so on. But when you see a modification on something that's that old, that's been painted over, you call out just to say, this has been changed from its original installation. The same thing that occurred in that one had to do with a huge drainage problem and a pool that was put in, an old pool that was modified to do a Palm Springs pool. And it had all the magic jets on the outside of it that did the flames in the water and all the techie stuff. And yet there was not one call out for any change to check the permits. And they had a massive drainage problem in there where the side of the house...
Talking about the chimney?
We passed the chimney. Now we went to the pool, and I'm talking about drainage.
I'm still on the chimney.
All right, then let's stay on the chimney. What would you like about the chimney?
Don't be confusing me. I have to run this show.
Oh, okay.
All right, so the chimney, let's talk about that, because I, for one, I don't touch chimneys. I don't look at chimneys. I don't comment on chimneys. And I make everyone extremely aware of that from the word go. First thing when someone calls me, do you do home inspections? Yes. Do you do chimneys? No. You need a specialist to do a level 2. I will not comment on any of that. It's in the initial email to them. It's in my inspection contract. It's everywhere to let them know I am not commenting on chimneys. So when I get there and they say, wow, John, what do you think of the house? Well, it's got some deferred maintenance. It's got this and it needs a few things here. It's got some old systems. So John, is that chimney working? You mean the one I told you I wasn't going to look at?
You're now talking about the testing of it. And I'm talking
No,
about
I'm not talking about the testing of it. I'm talking about home inspectors looking at chimneys. I am 100, let me change that. I'm 1,000% against them looking at chimneys, period. There's nothing a home inspector can do looking at a chimney that's going to benefit anybody in the process, especially himself or herself. That is how I look at it. I've been doing this long enough to know that if you don't have a camera to go up inside that flue and that chase, you're wasting everyone's time.
Again, you're talking about something different than I am. I'm not talking about the internal mechanism. I'm talking about the fact, for an example, you could look at the outside of the house and see the chimney looking like it's falling away from the house.
And that would be a safety hazard.
Right. So the key to all of this is in that same inspection on the side, they had it completely cemented in. It wasn't a very wide area, but they built a block wall in front of it. And we're talking about a lot that goes from back to front with no drain. So when we had the El Nino, the rains,
you say no drains, you mean area drains?
No drains at all.
You're talking about in the ground, right?
In the ground.
Okay.
There's no drains at all. There's no way it could get out to the street or out past this block wall that was 6 feet high. And the bottom line is that during these last series of rains, the owner of it had to get a pump to have it out there because it would have flown over the sill plate into the sunken living room.
Right.
Again, there's a lot of things. I'll give you one more, and this is the best one of all.
You promise?
I promise.
All right.
This is a balcony that's right over the front entry. And there's a drain. The drain releases itself 1 foot away from the front door, dead center. If it's raining, you're going to be dripped on going in and out, was not called out at all.
Wow.
Yes. Now, of this particular house, the home inspector eventually, with his attorney, just said, look, we've made a mistake. Let's do the right thing. Let's get in. Let's get this resolved. Let's get this guy back on the road. And that inspector today, I would invite to my house to inspect the house I was buying. He's really, really good. The point of this is when a mistake is made, that's why you have the insurance.
Hey, Greg, you haven't invited me to your house yet.
I haven't invited you to your house yet. I have a young wife.
To your house.
I'm not going to do that.
I have a young wife. That's hilarious, too.
Come on, it was the best thing I could come up with spontaneous.
I have a young wife. Oh, that's so funny. So, okay. All right. So, here's a gray area that a lot of people don't really discuss much. And I a lot of times I just forget about it myself, but you said something that triggered it. When a homeowner, when a potential home buyer gets a realtor, and then the realtor gives them a whole bunch of paperwork they have to sign for them to represent them, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And in those, they have to, I believe I don't know the name of what paragraph it is in their contract, but I believe it has something to do with letting them know that they should do any and all inspections available prior to the close of escrow or prior to end of inspection contingency. Is there something in there like that?
Yes, there is. It's after, I think, 28. It's a 10-page car contract. Attorney fees, as you would guess, I would know this, is on page 9, and on page 8 is the mediation clause. So it's after both of those. But what it does say is that they will make recommendations, and it's up to the client to make that decision and generally to find their own, although they could ask for assistance.
Okay, so the realtors right up front, before they even find a house, letting them know that when they do find a house, they recommend, is it just a recommendation?
It is.
It's a recommendation that they have any and all inspections done on that property that's available.
That is recommended.
That is recommended. So if there's a chimney, then a chimney inspector should come in. If there's a pool, then a pool inspector should come in. Because it's a home inspector will come in, and so forth. So if it had specialty systems like solar,
The same thing applies.
yeah, same thing applies. So what kind of defense would a home inspector have if all those steps were followed, all that advice was given, all those recommendations were given, and then there was still a claim? Well, why are you coming after me if the first thing you signed was to get all these other inspections done, you chose not to?
Well, that was the example that I gave you earlier with the house in San Diego.
That was an hour ago. I can't remember that.
Okay, well, okay, listen, I know short-term memory loss applies to you. I know that, okay? So the key to all of this is the client is buying a home. Whether it's their first home or 10th home, it doesn't make any difference. There are certain things that you have to do. You have to pay attention. Right. You have to look. If a home inspector calls out for a specific type of inspection, it is the get out of jail free card for the home inspector. And your attorneys for the home inspector really like you to do that. They really, really like it. Did I mention they really, really like you to do that?
I think I heard you say that.
Yeah. I'm being repetitive.
Okay. No, that's good stuff. So you have a current you have a 3-year-old case that you mentioned. Going back to that for a minute. So the 3-year-old case with the gentleman that didn't have the paperwork signed.
Yes.
He did get paid.
Yes.
And then he gets sued.
Yes.
Okay. So what was the result of that one?
That's an interesting question because we still don't know. We got a letter notice. I was retained. I wrote a letter back, and nothing really has occurred until the lawsuit is filed. There's no reason to incur attorney fees and costs. So
there's no lawsuit yet?
No lawsuit, yeah.
All right, Greg. Was there something else you wanted to go over?
Yeah. When you see a house, especially a drainage situation, the one house I told you about with the pool, with the flames, it wasn't grounded.
Well, it wasn't grounded.
It wasn't grounded at all. It's a matter
the house?
That I'll go further with you. Not just the pool. This was a fix and flip in which somebody came in who had no background education experience in doing this, thinking he's going to jazz it up and make all this money. And he did. He made about $150,000 over. And this young couple bought it, their first house, right out of...
Yeah, I remember this one. You told me that one before.
I told you this before.
Yeah.
What we found out is that they demanded, and they asked their realtors to make sure that they have all the, the permits and who are the contractors, because they completely redid the bathrooms, did a great job in the bathrooms upstairs, magnificent. But they didn't connect the drain to the upstairs master bedroom correctly to the master drain or the main drain down under the sink.
That's a problem.
So the minute they turned it on, it flooded the kitchen and the sink.
During the inspection?
Oh, no. Evidently he didn't turn it on because it would have flooded everything.
Well, it doesn't make any sense.
Yes, it does. Think this out. If it had been properly connected, the water coming from the master bathroom shower upstairs would have gone downstairs and then flooded the area of the kitchen.
So this place was under construction?
No, this was already completed.
So my question is, the confusing part is, how does the home inspector not run the water in the bathtub and the shower?
And that's the major question, isn't it?
He didn't do his job, because if he did his job right and ran a bunch of water, especially from a second floor.
Yes.
I run tons of water when I especially on a second floor house. I run tons of water, bathtub, sink, shower, everything's running at the same time. Flush the toilet 2 or 3 times.
Right.
Then I get downstairs and inspect. And if there's a leak, I'll probably spot it with my thermal gun.
Well,
unless it's really obvious.
I can tell you that the whole wall.
So the inspector screwed up.
Oh, yes. As I said again, when you have a very bad day, and this is a very good inspector. This really is. I don't know what was on his mind. Maybe there was a problem someplace else. I don't know. But when you have this problem and you realize you really had a bad day, get in, work with your insurance company, work with the lawyers.
You got to own it.
Yeah, that's right. You do it right up front and you get out and you go in for a good faith settlement and you go on with your life. You don't live it for 2 years.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You got it. Guys, inspectors, listen up. You got to run water, especially on a second story house. I'm telling you, time and time again. Every time I start a house with 2 stories, I start up in the attic and I work my way down. Because you know what? There's this thing called gravity. And the rules of physics means that is going to go down. Everything is going to go downhill. And that is how you're going to find these leaks. And another tip is run a lot of hot water. Hopefully the hot water heater is working. Run a lot of hot water. It's real easy to detect with a thermal gun. So do that. Then go downstairs, do your downstairs inspection, run all the water there, and then get your thermal gun on the ceiling. Actually, no, do the thermal gun on the ceiling when you go downstairs, because you just ran a bunch of water, and if there's a drip somewhere or some kind of a leak, you'll probably catch it.
This was the same house that had the dam on the side.
I remember this.
And by the way, remember, there was 3 trees directly in line to the street, so the water could never get out.
Right.
And because they did work in the backyard, they didn't want to pay for the removal of the dirt. They put it on the opposite side of the wall, the front side of the wall, making even a bigger dam.
Yeah. Damn.
There's a rumor. Yes. I mean,
damn.
Talk about a cluster, you know.
Hang on.
Yeah.
That's a cyber slap.
Okay.
For building that dam.
Okay.
No, not for you. That was for the people that built the dam.
Okay. But the whole thing, the whole drainage around the house never worked. You could see the roots coming out of the cutout of the curb on both sides of the house.
Right. Now, is there a spot in the CREIA standards of practice that talks about that we have to report on drainage?
What it says is that you have to observe the conditions present. You don't test them. That's outside the course and scope.
Right. Now, does a 1950s house come with drainage?
It depends on the house.
I'm going to say no to that.
Okay.
I'm going to answer my own question.
Okay. No, you didn't say whether it's been modified.
It's a very vague. It's a very vague. It's a very gray question. And most homes do not have any kind of area drains. We're talking about drains that are in the ground. When you're walking around, you'll see a little, grill top, plastic top. They always break because the sun beats them up and they just crack and get brittle. So those are area drains. Very rare you're going to see them on any house built prior to 2010, unless it's on a hillside and they thought about it. But then again, I see a lot of hillside homes with zero drainage too. So it depends on the age of the house. And with that in mind, if you do see drains, just just hit it with your flashlight real quick and see if it looks like it's open. I always make notes, deferred maintenance of drains. If I see drains, letting them know, hey, look, these got to be checked and cleaned because they're useless if they're dirty. And most of the time, they're filled with dirt.
What about a 2-car internal garage? So you have the 2-car garage inside the framework of the house, and you look at the ceiling and you find separations in that ceiling, and you know that people are sleeping above that. Carbon monoxide. That is another.
Okay, that would be the firewall.
Yes.
We'll call that the what I call that as how do I have that written? Let me think for a second. How do I have that written in my report? Firewall damaged. Open voids in firewall. That's it. Open voids in firewall. So if you have a garage, like Greg mentioned, has a sleeping area above it, all that ceiling and all those walls have to be sealed with a 5/8 fireproof drywall. So a lot of times homeowners over the years, they'll poke a hole in it. Maybe there was a leak and they fixed the leak and left it wide open. That's a safety hazard. So I see that a lot. I just seen that yesterday too. So yeah, that all needs to be retaped. It's just a matter of mudding and taping. Nothing out of the ordinary. It's very simple stuff to fix.
But it's a health safety factor.
That's a safety issue. Yes, that gets a unacceptable check, like the unacceptable inspectors not getting their contract signed before they go to work.
By the way, just finishing up with the same house, this young couple, he's doing very well and she's doing even better. To make the long story short, they buy this house for just under $1 million.
Just had to have it.
No, listen, it was just, this is their first house. They lived in the area. They already knew all the shops around it.
Well, that was their spot.
Completely redone. Anyway, so to make the long story longer, they were told that there was hardwood floors that were not redone underneath the den area. And in the place, they put an imitation laminate. And they said, are you sure that there's hardwood floors underneath? He said, yes. I said, they're from back east. They're going to want to redo them. Want it to look really nice. 2 days after close of escrow, they lift it up and they find 20 years of water intrusion. The wood underneath was totally rotten and dissipating away.
Wow.
You could pick it with your hand.
Wow.
With your hand, and it would just crumble like it was sand. And that was the start of it. Now, what they also did was smart.
That flipper should be put out of business for that.
He's in very serious trouble.
Good.
I'm prosecuting.
I'm happy to hear that. Yeah, I am happy to hear that because there's a lot of scumbag flippers out there who just should not even be allowed to be in business.
Well, let's go further with this, is that this guy did not want to have a contractor, so he got men off the street, paid them in cash, he was supposed to, as part of the close of escrow, list the names of all the contractors, their licenses, so if something happened, like the dishwasher, or, a plumbing problem, or something
like connecting the pipes,
Right.
Small stuff.
All right, the bottom line, they put partial receipts, no heading. We now have spent over a year trying to find these people, and we had a contempt order against this in pro per. So that means you decide to be your own attorney, which means you have an idiot for a client. I'm serious. But we are going to be going and we are going to turn this over to the district attorney's office when this case is finished.
Good. Keep me posted on that because I'd love to see who this is. See who they are.
Okay.
Scumbags. But Greg, that's it for now. I actually have to go do an inspection today.
Well, I mean, I'd like you to go to work for a change. You've been goofing.
I know, I've been sitting at this desk just talking to you and other people. But thanks for coming. Sure. Enjoy your coffee mug. And don't forget to buy a bunch more for your staff at the Shopify store.
I will. I'm telling you.
There's a link there's going to be a link in the description below so everybody can check it out. To get your t-shirts, coffee mugs, and even got some tote bags in there for the ladies. Yeah, so they'll like those.
You're an entrepreneur.
Trying, man. I'm trying to keep the show funded.
Way to go.
All right. Thank you, Greg.
Had a good time. Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure.